Earlier this morning, several people were rushed to the hospital after two separate home invasions overnight. Both happened on the west side. The first one just before midnight in the 150 block of Farrell, just inside Loop 410. The other on South Brownleaf an hour later. Conchetta Callahan joins us live now at University Hospital. So, Conchetta, police say 3 burglars and a homeowner all shot.
David, and all 4 of those people are being treated at University Hospital this morning. Police say in the latest incident, 3 burglars broke into a house in the 800 block of Brownleaf using the front door. When the homeowner went to see what was going on, someone shot him and he fired back, hitting 2 of the burglars. An hour before that, a similar ordeal. Police say a burglar broke into a home in the 150 block of Farrell Street using a crowbar. The homeowner shot at the burglar. Now, police don't believe that these burglaries are related. The 3 burglars that were shot in these incidences are being treated here at the hospital this morning. When they are released, they will go into police custody. A homeowner is also being treated. Now, we do know that 2 of those people are in critical condition. Not sure if it's the homeowner or the burglars. Live at University Hospital, Conchetta Callahan, KSAT 12 News.
Well, Raleigh police saying right now a homicide charge has not been filed. However, at this house, there are signs of this investigation. When I walked up to the house today, I found evidence tape on the door handle and fingerprint powder all around the front entry. Police say 2 armed men broke into the home early Saturday morning, and the homeowner fought back, firing a gun in self-defense.
There were 6 gunshots, and there's someone outside yelling for help.
A neighbor explaining to a 911 operator that someone, possibly a young child, showed up.
We heard someone at our front door ringing the doorbell, and they ran off. And my husband and I just got up and looked outside, and we heard a guy yelling help.
We do know that an 11-year-old boy was hurt. A neighbor telling me off camera the homeowner was carrying his wounded child out of the home and into this white truck. The dad wouldn't wait for an ambulance and raced to the hospital himself. Authorities, meanwhile, found the intruders. 19-year-old DeAndre Carney was dead from gunshot wounds. 22-year-old Willie Richardson was injured and was sent to Duke University Hospital. And Richardson does have a criminal record. You're taking a look at right now at some of his previous charges. Just 2 months ago, he was arrested for robbery with a dangerous weapon. He faces several other charges that come from the incident in this neighborhood. We're live in Raleigh. Elaine Athens, ABC 11 Eyewitness.
There is news of another school shooting, this time in Maryland. And thankfully, an armed school resource officer stopped the attack by quickly engaging with the shooter. Authorities are reporting that the gunman entered the school and fired at a female student. Hearing the shots, the school resource officer rushed to the scene and fired 1 shot at the suspect, critically injuring him and stopping the attack. A second male student was also injured during the shooting. It is clear that the mainstream media will ignore this story. Moments before I came on this broadcast, I checked the cable news outlets. They were only giving this story cursory coverage. Why? Because to them, when a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun from causing mass carnage, to these left-wing reporters and editors, it is not a story. The county sheriff said the school resource officer, quote, quickly acted. It is clear that officer saved lives. Where is the wall-to-wall coverage of that? I will be watching and waiting. And I urge all of you, do not hold your breath. This story is proof. When something doesn't fit their anti-gun, anti-freedom narrative, the lying news media simply doesn't cover it.
Chicago police are investigating after a man was shot and killed while allegedly trying to rob this store here in the Gage Park neighborhood. But the man accused of shooting and killing the suspect might not face any charges. Witnesses say the suspect entered the store at 51st and Washtenaw, which sells a variety of products, including supplements and snacks, as well as houses a currency exchange. They say he displayed a weapon and announced a robbery, but police say another customer with a gun stepped in and shot and killed the suspected robber.
I was coming back from work and I was walking down the block and I see a bunch of cops and stuff right here, and then I'm just like, oh, what happened? I saw the red tape and I was like, that must mean something serious. And then I went home and I read on the news that some guy got killed right here.
Chicago police have identified the man who was shot to death as 55-year-old Reginald Gildersleeve. They say the man who shot Gildersleeve does have a valid concealed carry license and a valid firearm owner's identification card. Yvette Almazan works across the street from where the shooting took place.
In this neighborhood, you got to be a little careful, like, with the people that come in. Some of the people are homeless people, so there's always that risk that they're going to come in and, point a gun at you. So you kind of do have to be careful, especially after a certain time around here.
Denise Zuniga lives nearby, and despite the fact that the shooting took place across the street from the office of 14th Ward Alderman Ed Burke, she says she's well aware of the increased crime in her neighborhood.
Definitely, I'm going to walk home a different route or have someone meet me up or something, because that's scary. That could have been me being robbed,
Chicago police continue to investigate the circumstances surrounding the robbery and the subsequent shooting, and the state's attorney's office will decide whether charges will be filed against the man who stepped in. Andrea Darlis, WGN News.
Homeowner in El Cajon took matters into his own hands this morning, shooting and killing a would-be burglar who he says tried to break into his truck. It happened in the 1000 block of Mona Place just after 1 a.m.
Police say the homeowner grabbed a handgun and opened fire, hitting the suspect at least once. CBS News 8's Brandon Lewis live now at the scene to explain what happened after the man was shot. Brandon?
Yeah, Steve and Alicia, police say the suspect then got back into his own pickup truck and started coming down Mona, almost to where we are here, lost control, and then continued across Chase Avenue, eventually coming to a rest by where that black pickup truck is right now.
This area of El Cajon is generally a very quiet neighborhood. In fact, in my 30-year career, I think I've been on Mona maybe twice.
Police were called to Mona Place and Chase Avenue around 1:15 Sunday morning. A homeowner says he woke up to his dogs barking.
He looked out his window and saw an individual standing by his truck. Concerned that his truck was being broken into, he went back to his, I believe to his bedroom, retrieved a firearm, and went outside in an attempt to confront whoever was outside by his truck.
On his way out, the homeowner told investigators he heard glass breaking.
He confronted the suspect. Some type of confrontation ensued between the two of them. We're not sure exactly what that was. The homeowner at this time fired at least 3 shots from his handgun. We believe at least one of those shots struck the suspect.
The suspect then got back into his own vehicle and tried to drive away. He hit several parked cars before crashing in front of a different home. Paramedics pronounced the man dead from a gunshot wound on the scene. Meanwhile, investigators interviewed the homeowner.
The homeowner is cooperative with us, and we are continuing the investigation at this time.
So far, the homeowner is not under arrest and is not facing charges for shooting who police call a would-be burglar.
We would always encourage them to call the police department first, but nothing prohibits them from doing that. This is the United States. There are a large amount of homeowners that do own firearms, so that's always a possibility that a home that a suspect may be breaking into, or the vehicle that's parked in front of a home that a suspect may be breaking into, they have to always take into account there may be a firearm in that person's house.
Tonight, police have yet to identify the homeowner who was involved. We did try knocking on their door, but no one answered.
A local man shoots an armed intruder inside his own home. That knife-wielding intruder recovering in the hospital tonight. Channel 4's Nicole Snyder is live in Lake City where all this happened. And Nicole, I understand that you talked to the homeowner about this whole situation.
Yeah, he didn't want to do an interview because the incident is still under investigation, but he told me the intruder went through this back door around 8 o'clock last night. He says he heard someone breaking in, and that's when he armed himself with his pistol, and he then fired. We do have some pictures from when the incident happened, when EMS response came after deputies found the intruder down the street, later identified as Craycraft. The homeowner, 63-year-old Alberto Casola, told deputies he saw a figure in his darkened living room and fired 1 shot at the intruder. He says he didn't know if the intruder was armed and hid in the bathroom. He then heard the intruder drop something and heard it fall to the floor, which was a knife. Casola says he owns a pecan business and he's done work with Craycraft before. He told me he believes Craycraft was trying to steal money used for the business, and he says he lives alone, so he always stays protected.
You have every right to protect yourself in your own home. And, that's a personal decision. I would tell everybody, if they want to take that kind of action, we prefer that you call law enforcement. But let's face it, we're not everywhere all the time. So in this case, this individual felt that he needed to protect himself, so that's what he did.
And the sheriff's office is still investigating this incident because the two were acquaintances and the nature of the situation, so no charges have been filed at this point. I'm live in Lake City. Nicole Snyder, Channel 4, the local station.
Homeowner shoots the intruder who was holding him and his wife at gunpoint. 7 Action News reporter Brianne Palmerini is live on Detroit's west side. Brianne, how did he manage to fire that shot?
Well, Heather, it really is an incredible story. The man just happened to stash this gun where he needed it most, and tonight he is thankful he and his wife are alive. It was late afternoon on this quiet street. 2 men ordered Daniel McNamara and his wife into their home, then into the basement. Terrifying moments.
They kept telling us, turn around. I said, no, I'm not going to turn around. I said, you're going to kill me face to face, you coward.
McNamara said the suspect didn't want them to remember their faces, and during the home invasion, the 2 men took both their wedding rings, Mrs. McNamara's purse, cash, and cell phones.
And he kept pointing the gun at my head and saying, you don't think I'll kill you face to face? I said, I don't know. But I said, you're going to have to, because I'm not turning around.
McNamara said he happened to have a gun stashed in the same area they were being held captive.
And all I kept thinking about, how can I get to that gun? Of course I was scared. Who wouldn't be? Some goon's got a gun to your head and tells you he's going to shoot you because you've seen his face.
McNamara said he saw his moment and had to take it, firing off 2 shots, leaving this window broken and one of the suspects injured, now in the hospital. The second suspect still on the run tonight.
The Lord looked out for us today.
If you have any information about the second suspect, call Crime Stoppers 1-800-SPEAK-UP. On Detroit's west side, Brianne Palmerini, 7 Action News.
Thank you very much. New this morning, police sorting out details of a shooting in a gated neighborhood on the northwest side. They say a homeowner shot a man who did not belong in his backyard. Happened in the 4100 block of Cliff Oaks. That's off Fredericksburg Road. Katrina Weber is there live. Any update on the man who was shot, Katrina?
Well, we know that it did not appear to be any life-threatening wound, according to what police told us. That suspect was able to still climb another fence even after he was shot in the leg. It happened just beyond these gates a little bit after 3 o'clock this morning. As the video will show you, police were here in that neighborhood. They say that they had received a call. A homeowner found someone in his backyard a little bit after 3 o'clock this morning. A man who didn't belong there. He caught the man climbing over his back fence and then fired a shot, hitting that man in his leg. After he was shot, the intruder, according to police, was able to climb over another fence toward a neighbor's house. The homeowner, the original homeowner, tracked him down and made him lie down until police arrived. They came and they took him into custody. They did take him to the hospital, not only for his gunshot wound, but also to have him checked out mentally. They say for some reason that intruder was not wearing any pants. He was dressed only in his underwear. Reporting live on the northwest side, Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
Well, tonight, one suspect is dead. Another is on the run after police say a homeowner opened fire on the intruders.
Yeah, and now they are trying to piece together what happened before the fatal shot was fired inside the home along Frank Place. That's in Palm Coast, just east of I-95. News 6 reporter Brittany Harris joins us there live now. And Brittany, have investigators said to you who they're actually looking for?
Well, Ginger, investigators aren't giving a suspect description at this time. We only know that the suspect is described as a male and he is considered armed and dangerous.
The Flagler County Sheriff's Office now knows what happened inside this Palm Coast house during a home invasion that left the intruder dead. But they're still trying to determine why the suspect tried to break in the first place.
We're interviewing a lot of people. So again, as I talk about the traumatic part of this, we have to consider that. But the victim shooter has been very open. He has provided us very good information. And so everyone else in the home is cooperating with us also. So we are moving along, but there's still a lot of information to gather.
Jim Troiana is a director for the Flagler County Sheriff's Office. He says they aren't releasing a lot of information right now, but did say the suspects were armed and came in through an unlocked door. 4 adults and a child were inside. Darian Corbett, who lives there, then got into a confrontation with the suspects and shot and killed one of them. The other ran off.
We did search diligently for him with our canines, as well as with other deputies. We were unable to locate him. We can only describe him as being a male at this time, and he's armed with a handgun.
Troiana says the victim did have the right to defend himself, but it's unclear whether or not he will get into any kind of trouble given the situation.
At this point, it looks like that's what he did. However, we're going to look at the totality of the circumstances, everything, and we're going to present the case to the state attorney's office to determine whether any charges are warranted.
And we did talk to one of the residents who lives inside the home. In fact, she gave us those photos you saw in the story. She tells us that one of the suspects pointed his gun at her little girl. Thankfully, that little girl is okay. But as you can imagine, everyone is still very shaken up over what happened. Lisa.
At noon, police are also investigating a shooting where a homeowner shot an intruder, and this all happened very early this morning in Northwest Miami-Dade. Local 10 News reporter Ben Kennedy is live in Northwest Miami-Dade now with the very latest on this one. Ben?
Christie, officers say this father was just trying to protect his family, his wife and two small boys who were asleep around 6 a.m. when a man tried to break into their home right here behind me in Northwest Miami-Dade.
It was definitely one shot. It might have been two, but yeah, it woke me up.
Neighbors woke up to gunshots, an intruder hit by a bullet after allegedly trying to break into this home in Northwest Miami-Dade.
I'm more, hesitant to, use, force like that, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't. So, I don't like to second guess somebody in a situation like that. It's in the middle of the night, in the morning.
Officers say at 5:20 a.m., a 22-year-old man tried to break into a home along Northwest 2nd Avenue and 143rd Street. It's there the homeowner who was inside with his family grabbed his gun and shot the would-be intruder, stopping him from getting inside where his wife and two kids, ages 5 and 9 years old, were asleep. The suspect was then rushed to the hospital in critical condition. His car, which he parked out front, was towed from the scene. Turns out neighbors say his house is no stranger to crime and that this is not their first break-in.
The family is okay. I mean, obviously they're shaken, and obviously the children are shaken. I had an opportunity to speak with all of them. The children are no longer home. We've had them with other family members. But somebody tries to break in your house, a couple gunshots are going off. Everybody's a little shaken.
And you can see the family did hire an attorney. At this point, Miami-Dade police have not charged anyone in this crime as they continue their investigation. As for the would-be intruder, they have not released his name, but we do know he is in critical condition at the hospital. Reporting live in Northwest Miami-Dade, Ben Kennedy, Local 10 News.
First, a breaking news alert out of Southwest Houston. A confrontation between a suspected intruder and a homeowner ends with the intruder dead. Channel 2's Mark Boyle is live on the scene for us at Hillcroft and Blue Ridge Drive. Mark, what did police say happened at this apartment?
Andy, investigators say a man who lives here at the crossings at Hillcroft Apartments near Blue Ridge was inside of his apartment about an hour and a half ago or so. All of a sudden, he heard some commotion at the door. And then seconds later, police say that intruder used a crowbar to open the door. Here's some video from the scene. Once that man forced the door open, investigators say the man who lives at this property was able to get his gun, and he shot and killed the would-be burglar in this case. After the shooting, investigators say the suspect tried to run away, but because of his injuries, he collapsed about 10 to 15 yards later. Right now, his body is still here on scene, covered in a sheet in a grassy area in between two buildings at this apartment complex on the southwest side. Investigators are telling us the man who pulled the trigger, the resident here, will not face any charges because he was protecting his property. The names of those involved have not yet been released. We are waiting for homicide investigators to come outside of the complex here to speak with us to give us some more information. So as of right now, again, it appears that the homeowner was protecting his property and shot and killed the suspect in this case. From reporting live on the southwest side this afternoon, I'm Mark Boyle, KPRC Channel 2 News.
In other news, burglars hit the wrong home in San Gabriel this morning. It's owned by a police officer. CBS 2's Dave Lopez says two suspects ended up being shot.
This is the first time in 47 years that I've lived here something like this has happened.
And how often does this happen? The intended victim, an off-duty LAPD officer, shoots two suspects outside his home. His next-door neighbor, a retired doctor, hears the shots, hears his neighbor calling for help, and goes and attends to one of the suspects who was wounded.
Well, I saw Joe calling for help, and I thought he was shot, but actually he was on top of one of the victims.
Physically on top?
Yeah.
And what was the gun?
He had his gun in his hand, and the guy was down.
Dr. Lascota, the retired doctor, told me that the suspect on the ground was crying through tears, told him he was 17 years old, and he had been shot in the stomach. One other suspect also was wounded, but he got into a getaway car, according to detectives, with 2 other alleged suspects, and the 3, say detectives, drove to the hospital where they were all arrested. The LAPD confirmed that the homeowner who shot the 2 suspects who he heard in his kitchen is an off-duty LAPD officer, a lieutenant from the Pacific Division, but they would not give his last name. They said that he used his own weapon, not an LAPD-issued weapon, to do the shooting. The LA County Sheriff's Department is handling this investigation. They said the off-duty LAPD officer told them that he was asleep in his bedroom around 10 this morning when he heard a noise coming from his kitchen. He said he saw the 2 suspects, grabbed his weapon, and then the 2 suspects ran outside, and that's when the shooting occurred.
Never saw anyone else. We knew that there were other people out there because Joe said there were other people that were trying to break in or he had seen, but we didn't know where they were.
The off-duty officer was not injured, and the LAPD said despite the fact he was off-duty, this shooting will still be investigated by the department. From San Gabriel, Dave Lopez, CBS 2 News.
Thank you so much for joining us once again for 9 on Your Side. The off-duty officer who may have saved a life during a bank robbery says he was given a surprising message.
Now, he shot a man accused of trying to hold up a Colerain Township bank. 9 on Your Side's Tom McKee is live with more. Tom.
Well, on May 22nd, Carl Rauschenberger came here to this Key Bank branch on Springdale Road to do some personal banking. Well, he got caught up in the middle of 2 men trying to rob the place, but his police training quickly kicked into action. The Mount St. Joseph University officer got involved in a gun battle, chased the pair away, but then reportedly was called out by Key Bank. Newly released video shows it all. Would-be robber Malcolm Jones lets cohort Nelson Jones into Key Bank, but he doesn't know that Mount St. Joseph police officer Carl Rauschenberger is right behind him with his gun out. As Malcolm Jones waves his gun into the air and parades through the lobby, the officer takes a tactical position. He orders Malcolm to the ground, but Jones draws a weapon and engages the officer in a battle. Jones is hit, but manages to get up and flee the bank with the officer in close pursuit.
He just showed a remarkable sense of bravery in that.
What happened next stunned Hamilton County Prosecutor Joe Dieters. He says Officer Rauschenberger was told to take his banking business elsewhere because he violated Key Bank policy of giving robbers what they want.
He deserves a great deal of gratitude from this community, and Key Bank should be ashamed of themselves.
Dieters wondered aloud what would have happened if the officer had not been there.
We've had multiple robberies where the clerk is laid on the floor or teller is laid on the floor and is executed.
Mount St. Joseph Police Chief Jack Kraft issued a statement commending his officer. He is an asset to our department and is committed to the safety and security of the Mount community and the greater Cincinnati area. Now, I reached out to Key Bank's corporate communications department in Cleveland earlier this afternoon, and I just got a reply from spokesperson Kimberly Kowalski. She said, basically, this appears to have been a misunderstanding. We apologize for any confusion. To be clear, at no time did we ask this client to extend his relationship with Key Bank, and we will contact him in the future to discuss the situation. Tom McKee, 9 on Your Side, live in Colerain Township.
Say that this homeowner saw someone on his property that clearly should not have been there. Not long after this situation, it escalated rather quickly, and that homeowner started firing.
Bullet holes can be seen on a car that was caught in the line of fire after a shooting unfolded in Worcester early Sunday morning. One neighbor watched the entire situation unfold right in front of his eyes.
I was on the phone with the police, and the operator heard everything. He's like, was that a gunshot? And then he tried to count how many shots. He thought it was 8, but I think it was 6.
Jonathan Rodriguez, who lives nearby, says his immediate reaction was to see if his own family was safe.
I went to check on them and after the shots were done, because they were on this room, so I just wanted to make sure they were okay.
Police say this all started when a man who lives at a home on 2nd Street spotted another man dressed in black roaming around cars and into the backyard of his home. Neighbors heard the 56-year-old homeowner confront the suspicious man and ask him to leave.
And he was just asking the guy, what are you doing here? And then the guy was like, I live across the street, and he pointed at my next door neighbor, and he's like, Mom, he's calling on Mom, pretending like he really lives there.
Police say neighbors even heard the suspicious man threaten the homeowner and then reach for his waistband. It was at that moment the homeowner, who is a licensed gun owner, pull out his gun and started firing.
Overall, I do think he was defending himself, and I mean, it got escalated. He was trying to keep the situation under control.
It was a weekend. Neighbors say they won't forget.
My wife is terrified, so I have to deal with that.
And police also say that that suspicious man was shot. He somehow made it back to his house and then called police for help. He is expected to be okay. Live in Worcester, Carrie Corrado, 7 News 19.
But first at 5, a woman shoots a man climbing through her bedroom window, and police say that man left a 7-year-old boy waiting in a car during a break-in.
This happened around 1:30 this afternoon at a home on Aspen Farm on the city's northeast side. That's in a neighborhood off North Foster Road at FM 78.
Police have just cleared the scene. Our Ashley Custer is there. So, Ashley, is this woman facing charges?
Police are talking to that woman right now, trying to determine if this is a case of self-defense or if she broke the law. 1 minute, the woman who lives in this home in the 6300 block of Aspen Farm was sleeping. The next, she was calling 911.
When someone was trying to climb through the window, she got her gun and shot twice, and he is now pronounced dead.
Investigators say the homeowner, who is in her early 40s, was home alone at the time of the shooting. However, the man climbing through her window was not. He had a 7-year-old boy waiting in the car.
The child was the son of the individual trying to climb in the window. He was in the vehicle when the shooting occurred.
The boy was not hurt. Detectives say they aren't sure if the boy saw the shooting. Now, police are working to locate the boy's relatives. They say if they're unable to do so, he will be placed with Child Protective Services. As for the suspect, we're told that he is a man in his 30s. Police have not yet released his name. Here live on the northeast side, I'm Ashley Custer, KSAT 12 News.